With some answers to those questions to walk us through prospective solutions are Assembly Speaker Toni Atkins and Congressman Scott Peters, and thanks for joining us today. First question here, you know my rule, ladies first. Governor Brown, State of the State address last week. You know, he's less is more, fiscal restraint. He's got a problem with the $15 minimum wage. President Obama has endorsed the 40% bump in federal minimum to $10.10 an hour. You folks want to start with this?
Well, I think we have seen California turn the corner. But in doing that, we have been fiscally prudent. We have a rainy day fund. We're putting reserves aside. We have a regular reserve. But we also want to talk about those that have been left behind and haven't felt the comeback. And so on Friday we unveiled an earned income tax credit that, along with the federal tax credit, could bring $600 million back into this community to help those people who are struggling.
There's a leverage to this?
Yes. Well, we leave billions of dollars on the table from our federal earned income tax credit. It's a program that works. Governor Brown endorsed that in his budget this last year, $380 million. And the good thing about that tax credit is it helps generate money for working families. It supports communities and small businesses because people spend the money in the community. So it's a win-win, and we want to tag that onto the federal income tax credit, and that would bring about $600 million back into our community in San Diego.
Congressman, you want to finish your sentences?
Well, part of the resolution of the budget deal last year was to extend and make permanent the child care tax credit and the earned income tax credit. And what the earned income tax credit does basically is allows people who earn from $15,000 if you have no kids up to $47,000 if you have 3 kids the opportunity to get a refund and a credit on their federal taxes. Again, that's a tax break for people we don't often think of giving tax breaks to in Washington. And it's something that a lot of people don't even know about. So I'm glad you're talking about it a little bit, and I hope that people who might qualify can inquire and make sure that they follow up and get the money that they're due.
Can you call out or tell me about the pushback that you tend to see in situations like this?
Well, I don't think we're seeing much of a pushback on earned income tax credit on issues like raising the minimum wage, programs that help support families. We're getting a pushback on that. But I think, it's all about how you unveil these programs and how you prepare. I think the state has increased the minimum wage, but it's not a living wage. And we want to see some of the most vulnerable working families in California be able to live here.
Well, so often the minimum wage I hear is, well, it's just supposed to be a starter car here, and then you move up. But a lot of people, this is a breadwinner.
Well, it was a starter for me. When I earned the minimum wage, it was $2.35 an hour. Ooh. No one would suggest that that would be an appropriate minimum wage today, even for a starter job. I believe that it would be appropriate for the rest of the country to come up to the California level of $10.10. Just to keep pace, I think, with the cost of inflation, the cost of living. That would be a reasonable place to start at the federal level. I don't think we're going to see that vote out of this Congress, but maybe after the next presidential election we can just catch up. Okay, we're under the 2-minute warning here. Social service programs during the Great Downturn, a lot were cut back or ditched. What are the odds of duration moving even in a higher direction?
We have continued to restore programs that existed, child care, CalWorks, programs that actually supplement. And I would say that we've done it pretty responsibly over time. It was only a $550 million increase 2 years ago to the budget for programs like that. We know that without these safety net programs, another 1.5 million California children live in poverty. So we're not talking about breaking the bank. We're talking about responsible budgeting, austerity, but let's also think about prosperity and our kids.
You, sir.
We wish we had Ms. Atkins' problems. You know, under the leadership of Governor Brown and Speaker Atkins and the folks in Sacramento, they've done a pretty good job of getting to the point where they can balance the rainy day fund and have a fight about whether to extend social programs. We're not at that point in the federal government. And I think that we have to do a lot with comprehensive tax reform. We have to really think long-term about how to make sure that that all of these programs are available for future generations. That's a conversation I'd like to have as soon as possible. Again, I think the presidential election is going to drive that, and so keep your eye on that this year.
Yes, I will. We will continue this conversation. Right. Thanks for joining us this morning, Assembly Speaker Atkins, Congressman Peters, and coming up